its latest World Economic Outlook, the International Monetary Fund painted a fairly dispiriting picture for the global economy over the coming years. For official institutions, including sovereign wealth funds, this is a very challenging time, and I'm joined today by Rod Ringrow, the Senior Executive for State Street for Middle East and North Africa. Rod, you've recently published some new research on this area, and you've included a survey basically of the key official institutions looking at their growth prospects over the coming years. What are the main conclusions you've drawn from this research?
Thank you. Yeah, we researched 60 plus sovereign wealth funds, central banks, official institutions around the world earlier this year, and a couple of key themes came out of the research. One was risk management was becoming increasingly important for these clients, and that was either risk management of new investment classes as they were looking at some emerging market investments, risk management of systems internally within the funds in terms of how they were actually able to record the extra risk they were taking, managing the risk and reporting the risk upwards. And also from a human resource angle in terms of how they were actually managing to resource the staff with the requisite background and skills to help them manage that whole process. The other factors that came through in the research were how they were trying to manage their portfolios for a changing interest rate environment, as well as looking at what operational systems they needed to run their operations as efficiently as possible. At an age of austerity, official institutions were also looking to get the most efficient infrastructure they could for the lowest possible costs of running those sovereign wealth funds and reserves. So a kind of interesting picture was emerging of greater investment in emerging markets, greater investment in alternative asset classes, and then how to manage the risks associated with those, both from an operational angle, human talent angle, and then operationally as well, how to position themselves. So kind of interesting challenge for these organizations.
So on the issue of sort of balancing risk versus reward in these sort of higher growth, more frontier emerging markets, what kind of strategies do you expect to see these official institutions employ, perhaps over the longer term?
And I think these institutions are very long-term investors, so they're able to take a very medium to long-term horizon. So they're looking at infrastructure investments, they're looking at perhaps some real estate investments, as well as looking at where the markets are deep enough, traditional portfolio investments of equities and fixed income instruments.
Okay.
But it's really sort of small tilts in a very long-term strategy. So we're not looking at huge swings here. We're just looking at slight deflections of the portfolio to take account of different asset classes, different regions, etc.
And as they push into these newer, different regions, obviously one of the issues is keeping abreast of a changing regulatory environment and sort of having a knowledge of the new regulations in place in some of these markets. How are these institutions responding to that dynamic?
I think they're struggling like everybody else in the global economy about the changing regulations, both in the developing world and the developed world. I mean, the ability to keep abreast of changes, and also the law of unintended consequences of some of the changes that are coming through is proving a challenge to all of them. So they're using all of their partners to provide information. We're providing information on various aspects of the change. They're dealing with multiple providers, multiple service providers, so they're all being asked to help them contribute to understanding of where the changes are coming in. And also meetings like the IMF and the IIF, it's a great opportunity to catch up in terms of what the latest thinking is and where the trends are going and how they should position themselves for that.
And in terms of your discussions here so far at the IAF and also at the IMF annual meetings, what have you sort of taken from the events so far in terms of the key themes to emerge from this year's meeting?
Well, I think this year, people are perhaps still a little bit wary about where growth is going, and we're seeing some signals of potential slowdowns in various parts of the world again. So I think there's concern that how to manage that, and whether they can help play a role in trying to promote the growth so that we don't slip back into another period of negative activity.
Right, thank you very much.
Pleasure, thanks.